Everything we know about Star Citizen is about to change. With the introduction of engineering gameplay now opening up in patch 4.5, I've spent the last week doing my best to live with the system, testing it with a general day-to-day perspective in mind, trying to get to grips with how it will affect our lives and how it will impact our futures moving forward. Welcome to the 7Hills info guide on understanding engineering gameplay in Star Citizen, patch 4.5. Engineering is going to change everything we know about spaceflight. From simple cargo running missions to full space combat, everything we know and love about the game is about to change. However, never fear, Spud is here to keep you flying and enjoying the new gameplay. After much consideration and reflection around engineering over the last week in the tech preview, against all my concerns and worries, I have actually concluded that, as frustrating at times as it might be, it will change the game in a positive way for us all, and we will embrace and love it as time moves forward. I hope this video is not only informative but acts as some kind of reassurance towards the more speculative mind, of which mine was very much a part of that category heading into this review. The first thing we'll look at is the new engineering terminal. As you walk up to it, you'll need to press F to gain access and be greeted with this starter page or overview. Here we can see a quick notification view of real-time info on what's happening with the ship components, as well as our Touch to Start button, which opens up the terminal's main controls. The first thing you're shown is a 3D render of your ship's chassis. You can zoom in and out and rotate exactly the same and with the same controls as your map in your Mobiglass. In the bottom left, you can toggle between different more detailed views of your ship's doors, rooms, items, or components, and relay connections. There is a final button which says Show Emergencies, which if clicked will only highlight areas of your ship in real danger. At the top of the display you have 4 indicator bars: life support, cooling, ship's hull health, and hydrogen fuel levels. To the right of this you have your component notifications and a bell symbol that opens this up into more detail, showing you a history of what's happened to your components and when. The level of detail CIG has put into this display is actually really impressive. Each notification will actually highlight the component for you automatically, so you know which part you are looking for in case you need to conduct some form of repair. The second tab opens your component settings, with an ever slightly more detailed view, but pretty much the same as on your MFD screens you have in any pilot seat. In here you can adjust your ship's component settings, increase power to each of your separate components, and toggle them on and off as you wish. It is advisable that every time you enter your ship, you head straight to this terminal and adjust the settings prior to takeoff, so you don't get caught out with any nasty surprises whilst going about your business. Take note of the heat bars to the right of each main system. This will become quite important later on. The third tab opens presets. Here there is a simple default tab, which is basically whatever settings you just changed in the previous screen. However, you can create your own saved settings, which you can set by clicking the pencil icon in the bottom right-hand corner of the box. So for example, you could save and have a stealth setting, combat setting, or normal flight setting depending on what style of gameplay you're about to set off and do. It looks like each type of ship will require its own presets. Cargo, industrial, or combat ships will all need different needs and have different levels of power for different type of activity you head off and do with them. You can toggle between these mid-flight, however it does require you to get up out of your pilot seat, so any ships with terminals in them will benefit from having a second crew member. As you adjust the settings for your presets, just be aware of the cooling system bar in the top left of the screen. By adding too much power to components, you will run your coolers too hard, and you will start to have issues later down the road. Keep this just below 80% as best as possible. You can overclock components when you need them, however, for just day-to-day flying, keep the allocated cooling to be below that 80%. Heading back to the 3D display, let's have a look at the information you can get on the terminal itself. Your ship's rooms or areas show up currently as square purple boxes, and components/relays are highlighted in different areas aboard your ship. They are all interconnected. What happens to one thing can affect another. For example, if a ship's component overheats or gets damaged, this in turn can cause a surge throughout your relay system. Blow a relay means less power is being circulated to other systems. They overheat, and a cascade can start. If you click on each component or room, you get a detailed overview showing you a variety of things. For ship rooms or areas, it shows the atmosphere, the temperature and pressure in that sole section of the ship, This section also has a button to press for venting in the top left-hand corner if needed. If for some reason the temperature is high in that room, you could be on your way to having a fire. If you vent the room to prevent that happening, you have no atmosphere. The doors around that room may now not open, as the pressure difference between the two areas may not allow the doors to open. Anyone caught inside without a helmet, sadly, is now on their way to Valhalla. The level of detail put into here is actually quite astonishing. Even if you hate the idea of all this, you do have to give it to the engineering development team at CIG for building such an intricate system. Finally, in the terminal, we also have access to be able to open and close each and every door within your ship. You also have the ability to lock each door. I believe, once engineering is fully introduced, boarding ships will become a big gameplay element of the game, and they will develop a number of missions around disabling ships and taking them over. Hence why ship concepts like the Legionnaire are currently being developed. Being able to lock yourself in certain rooms may not stop boarding parties getting onto your ship. However, it might save valuable time slowing them down whilst you do repairs and get your ship back up and running again. At least you might be able to give you and your crew a fighting chance changing the environment you're in. It's clever stuff, really. So next, let's see what pilot information you have. You'll notice on the MFD there is a new section called Diagnostics. At the top of this display, you have 4 buttons: Damaged, Critical, Error, and Repair. In the top left, there is the Home button, which takes you back to the main view. The buttons across the top currently shows, in the tech preview, nothing. However, I think anything which falls into either one of those categories, in that screen you will have control to either turn them off or repair them, using the one-time repair button, which I'll come on to in a short while. On the main MFD screen, you have an overview of every element which makes your ship fly. Main engines, components, individual thrusters alongside their health, highlighted here in green on the right, and their overall wear and tear over time, highlighted here in gray on the left. There is also on-off buttons which can control each part. So for example, if you have taken damage and have an imbalance in controls, you can rebalance your flight controls by turning different thrusters off. It is my belief moving forward that real consideration on what components go into your ships needs to take place. Rather than just buying or fitting items with the most output or highest rating, care will be needed to find the best balance of components for each ship. It is looking more likely that the categories of components will become a major factor. For example, industrial components will have higher wear and tear, however, to the detriment of their output or power usage. Military components will have higher output but wear faster over time and maybe overheat quicker due to that output. Stealth will be delicate, as they are incredibly specialized, and so on. Finding the correct balance on what to use in what ship will become a massively important element to gameplay moving forward. So next, let's have a look at how flight will be affected in the day-to-day running of your ship. If you don't want to burst into flames every 2 minutes, then you are going to have to balance how you fly and how much power you give each system. As mentioned earlier on, once on board your ship, head to your ship's terminal and select a preset, or create one called Normal Flight Mode. This mode should be mid-range power to all settings. There is a H symbol highlighted in yellow above all components. If you run them constantly into this bar, you will be more likely to overheat your engines, coolers, or power plants. So if you're not needing that extra power, just keep it below this level, and generally you won't have any issues in flight. You will need to also change how you fly a little. Boosting into the red now actually means something, and that something is you are pushing your engines hard, so if you do, just keep an eye on the left and right-hand HUD indicators linked to speed and boosting. Going into the red on these too often will cause a warning alarm to sound from your ship's computer, telling you you are overheating your engines. In normal flight, this isn't an issue. Just slow down a little and let them cool down. The cooler is now the king in engineering, with your power plant the queen. If you break a cooler, everything will overheat and you will catch on fire. Any severe damage to just one of your power plants by either combat damage or overheating, you will explode. So take it steady out there, 7Hillers, if you are just flying about on business. If for any reason you do have non-serious damage from normal flight to any of your ship's components, the simplest and easiest way to repair them is just the same as it is now. Land on a pad or in a hangar and repair via your mobi-glass and take off again. Simples. However, if you do get into combat and/or push your ship way too hard, the picture is very much a different story. Fires will start, ships will disable themselves, smoke will rise, and active, on-the-spot repairs will become your only option.